uh, edited by one of our participants today, Mr. Tughlul Yamin Sahib. And this book can be, it is available on Amazon and Kindle, and it can be ordered from Institute of Policy Studies as well. Thank you.
Great हो गया जी डॉक्टर तुगलल, congratulations sir. I think this is one of the areas which are neglected in Pakistan at least. तो इसके ऊपर काम करके बड़ा अच्छा जबरदस्त काम किया सर आपने. I appreciate.
शुक्रिया बहुत बहुत, जज़ाकल्लाह.
ब्रिगेडियर साहब बहुत मुबारक हो. वैसे तो इसके साथ काफी वास्ता रहा इस पूरे प्रोजेक्ट के साथ. बहरहाल इसकी तकमील भी आपको मुबारकबाद पेश करते हैं. खालिद रहमान साहब, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone, those who have joined us physically as well as those who have joined us online. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Muhammad Walid and I welcome you all in today's event, which is a part of the first Pakistani-Russian International Conference with the title, The Evolving Pakistan-Russia Relationship in a Changing Global Order. The conference is jointly being organized by the Institute of International Relations, Kazan Federal University, Russia, and the Department of International Relations, Federal Urdu University of Arts, Science and Technology in Karachi, Pakistan. The conference is being organized in Karachi from 18th to 19th February 2025, and today's session is part of the first day's proceedings. So today we are being joined by an esteemed panel of discussants, including Ambassador Syed Abrar Hussain, Vice Chairman, Institute of Policy Studies, Professor Dr. Fakhrul Islam, former Director, Pakistan Studies Center, Peshawar University, Professor Dr. Adam Saud, Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Bahria University, Islamabad, Brigadier Retired Dr. Tughlul Yamin, former Associate Dean, Center of International Peace and Stability, NUST, Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi, Senior Assistant Professor, Bahria University, and Mr. Taimur Fahad Khan, Research Associate, Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad. Now I ask for the permission of the session chair, Professor Dr. Fakhrul Islam, so that I can proceed the session, sir.
Ji, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I should formally welcome all the honorable participants, especially the worthy chairperson, Institute of Policy Studies, the vice chairperson, Ambassador Syed Abrar Hussain Saab, and all the honorable presenters. So please, Walid, go ahead.
Thank you for your permission, sir. Before this, I would like to say that to keep the smooth flow of this session, I request all the participants to please conclude their remarks in the communicated time frame. So to commence the session, I request Ambassador Retired Syed Abrar Hussain, Vice Chairman IPF, to please give his welcome remarks. Sir, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let me extend a very warm welcome to all of you. You know, this session is about evolving Pakistan-Russia relationship in a changing global order. We are lucky to have with us Professor Dr. Fakhrul Islam, who is chairing today's session online. And we have a learned panel of speakers. Our keynote speaker is Professor Dr. Adam Saud, who has gone to Karachi, but he was kind enough to agree to deliver his talk online. Of course, you have heard the names of the other speakers, Brigadier Dr. Tughril Yameen, Dr. Saira Nawaz Khan, and Mr. Taimur Fahad Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan and Russia enjoy close, multi-dimensional relations based on mutual goodwill and trust. Bilateral ties are marked by cooperation in diverse areas, including economic, energy, and security. The two countries also consult at various multilateral fora on regional and global issues of mutual interest. Diplomatic relations between Pakistan and Russia were established in May 1948. In recent years, Pakistan-Russia relations have seen significant developments. Only during last 6 months, we have seen visits of Russian Prime Minister, Russian Deputy Prime Minister, and Speaker of the Russian Federation Council. In fact, in the 21st century, both countries have sought to diversify their foreign policies and have found common grounds in areas like counterterrorism, economic partnerships, and regional stability, particularly concerning Afghanistan. Bilateral trade between the two countries has increased, and discussions are ongoing for energy projects. Military cooperation has expanded with joint exercises and potential arms deals. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, is an important forum that brings us closer. Both Pakistan and Russia are members of the SCO, providing a platform for engagement and cooperation on regional security and economic issues. The relationship appears to be on an upward trajectory, with both sides demonstrating a willingness to engage and cooperate. According to our Foreign Minister, Ishaq Dar, Pakistan views Russia as an important player in West, South, and Central Asia. He said that Pakistan aims to work with Moscow towards peace and stability in Afghanistan. According to Mr. Dar, the two countries are committed to expanding trade by addressing logistical and related issues. Pakistan and Russia are expanding ties in many fields, including liquefied natural gas or LNG purchases. However, sanctions against Russia restrict cooperation between the two countries. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, in an interview to PTV World, recently said, and I quote, "Relations are developing in an upward direction. This is the most positive period in many decades. There are a number of projects to restore what was created in the Soviet period for the Pakistan economy. There is mutual interest in practical cooperation in the fight against terrorism, and Pakistan also suffers from it." And Russian ambassador to Pakistan, in a recent interview to a Pakistani TV channel, said that modern Russia-Pakistan relations are based on a friendly and equal partnership, free from bloc policies, and major geopolitical changes have not disrupted the positive dynamics of our bilateral relations. He also clarified that it would be wrong to assume that the intensification of the Russia-Pakistan dialogue has a hidden agenda. Our relations are not directed against third countries. With these quotations from Pakistani Foreign Minister, Russian Foreign Minister, and Russian Ambassador, which give enough background for today's discussion, I once again welcome all the participants, and I'm also keen to listen to all the experts here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Abrar. Now, for our keynote address, I would like to call Professor Dr. Adam Saud, who has joined us online to speak upon Pakistan-Russian ties in a multipolar world, opportunities and challenges. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Waleed. Am I supposed to run my slides from my laptop?
Sorry, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Am I
sir, you are
audible?
audible. जी
I'm asking कि slides जो है मैं यहाँ से अपने पास से चलाऊंगा?
जी sir, you can run your slides by your own.
Okay. Give me a second, please. जी मेरी स्लाइड्स आपको विजिबल हैं?
No, sir, those are not visible.
आप
The slides are
बताइए.
visible, sir. Yes, these are visible.
Okay. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to share my views on Pakistan-Russia ties in the multipolar world and opportunities and challenges. Before we start with the formal presentation and opening up the slides, I would go for some basic details. Ambassador Saab, he has already set the ground for the discussion and deliberation. We know that during the Cold War, right after the creation of Pakistan, Soviet Union, then it was led by Russia at that time. It had a different camp, and Pakistan joined the Western camp because of the geostrategic and geopolitical interest at that particular time. Because of the Indian factor, where we see that India it emerged as an existential threat to Pakistan. Pakistan had to strengthen its security in terms of military hardware and economic stability as well. So we know that even before the creation of Pakistan, the Indian National Congress it had close relations with the Communist Party of Soviet Union, and there were certain statements by the leadership of the Communist Party of Soviet Union regarding the All India Muslim League, where they declared All India Muslim League as a British tool, where British Raj at that was using as a tool of divide and rule in the Indian subcontinent. Therefore, when the Pakistan was created, Pakistan got independence, and the government at that time, having a close affiliation with the All India Muslim League, they had those statements into their minds. So that was one of the major reasons that Pakistan joined or opted for the Western camp. But obviously, being student of international politics, we need to understand that the realist school of thought or the national interest, they always supersede everything while we take the decision. So at that time, obviously, the Western world, America, and the hardware than the Russian camp or the Soviet camp. Therefore, it was in the end of second thing was the Bretton Woods system that emerged right after the Second World War. For that purposes, Pakistan had to opt for the Western camp, and thirdly, the Soviet Union it had close relationship with the Indian government at that time. So these were the three major reasons, beside other small factors, which forced Pakistan to look towards the Western camp than towards the Soviet camp. Now we see that primarily the Cold War era, it was marked with the divergence of interest or the cold relationship between Moscow and Islamabad. But once the Soviet Union disintegrated and the international political structure, it changed from bipolarity towards a transition towards a multipolarity. Then we see that both the countries, Russia and Pakistan, they got opportunities to interact with each other. And we see that high level of delegations, they started to visit each other countries, and both sides, they showed interest and warmth of having multilateral relationship with each other. But obviously, keeping in view the geopolitical environment of the region and some domestic and regional constraints on both the states, Russia and Pakistan, both the states, they could not go to the direction where they wanted to. Nevertheless, some geopolitical changes at global level and regional level again forced both the countries to look towards each other, particularly 9/11, and then a transition or a shift at the global level where we see that America is aligning itself with India, particularly in order to contain China in not only at the regional level but at the international or global level as well. So we see that the Chinese rise as a transitional power, its interests have aligned with the resurgence of Russia as a great power. So we see that in this situation where Pakistan and China, they are closer to each other, they are strategic partner as well. Here, Russia and Pakistan, they got closer to each other as well. So we see that there are multiple factors at the global level, at the regional level, and the local level, domestic level, which are forcing both the states to come closer and to enhance the bilateral relation to the next level, I would say. And I endorse and I support the argument that has been given by the ambassador that if you look at the trajectory of the relation since 2013-14, we see that we are onto the right path of development and relation. So we know that these relations have, as I have discussed a bit, they are evolving in the context of a multipolar world where both the countries, they are getting certain opportunities but are facing challenges as well. Since we know that the world is in transition, the world politics is in transition, and we still have to look at where this transition is leading towards, whether to bipolarity or to multipolarity. But obviously, the indicators are telling us that, or we can assume through the indicators that the world is heading towards a multipolarity where the center of power, it would not be confined to only one or the two power, but different powers. This manifestation has been seen through the BRICS, particularly the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and other multilateral organizations which have emerged over the period of time. And we know that this transition is led by China, and Russia and other powers, they are supporting this transition. And there are multiple voices at the global level where the multipolarity is being demanded. And like I've already said that, different events across the world, particularly the recent events in the Middle East and even the Ukraine war, they have sent messages that there's no more unipolarity in the world, and America has lost, at least practically, it has lost, not theoretically but practically, it has lost the status of the superpower, the sole superpower, I would say. So we see that under such circumstances, there's an alignment and realignment of partners at both regional and global level, where we see that the old friends, they are joining the opponent camps, and the old enemies, or where there had been divergence of interest, now those states, they're getting closer to each other. So we see that this cooperation that is at regional or global level, it's at the multiple levels, like it's in the areas of diplomacy, economy, military, trade, and so on. So this situation has given a room and opportunities for Pakistan and Russia to enhance their relations as well. These are certain realities which had been into practice before the during the Cold War or before the independence or disintegration of the Soviet Union. I've discussed this, how Pakistan, it had engaged itself into the Western camp. And lastly, the Afghan war, actually, it was the turning point where we see that when the Soviet invaded Afghanistan, Pakistan joined. In fact, USA, the Western world, Arab world, and Pakistan joined their hand against the Soviet invasion into the Afghanistan, and ultimately Soviet Union disintegrated. But despite that opposition to each other, we see that after the disintegration of Soviet Union and Russia, emergence of Russia as an independent state, the situation, it got improved. Initially, right after the independence, we see that bilateral visits, they took place. Even the foreign minister of both the countries, they also visited each other. But we see that a major regional and domestic, constraints, which forced Moscow and Islamabad to continue their relations gradually, slowly and gradually. One important thing was the Pakistan's recognition of Taliban regime in Afghanistan in 1996, which was opposed by Russia at that time. And there were certain other important developments in the region where we see that Russia and Pakistan, they had a kind of divergence of policy. Anyhow, America and the US nuclear deal was one of the major reasons where we see that Pakistan and Russia, they got closer to each other. When India actually joined the American camp, and before that, the 9/11 happened, and in Pakistan and Russia, they got convergence of interest over the anti-terrorism and anti-extremist operations and policies, where there was a convergence of interest. So we see that the US Indo-nuclear deal, actually, it was one of the major breakthrough, where we see that both Pakistan and Russia, and they got closer to each other. Then we see that the military cooperation, it started, although it had been in practice even during the Cold War, where we see that during 1968, when Kosygin, he visited Islamabad, there had been a small arms deal at that time as well. But major breakthrough, again, it started in 2014 onwards, where we see that the Russian authorities, they agreed to provide, they lifted the arm embargo on Pakistan that was put during the Cold War times. And henceforth, we see that they started giving us hardware, particularly the gunship helicopters, and the joint military exercises, they also started over. And the important development is that the Druzhba, the first 2016 Druzhba exercise, they were conducted in the Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan. And we know that as per the Indian claims, the Gilgit-Baltistan region is a disputed region. So if the Russian military, it goes to a disputed region, as per the Indian claim, it means Russia is accepting that part of Gilgit-Baltistan as part of Pakistan. So it means it was a kind of major breakthrough so far Pakistan's diplomacy toward Moscow is concerned. Pakistan's stream gas pipeline is one of the major projects. We know Russia is rich in the energy, and it really wants to export its energy to alternative markets, particularly in the wake of Ukraine crisis, where we see that its energy transportation to the European market, it is at a halt. Therefore, the Pakistan stream gas pipeline is not only essential for Pakistan, but it is very, very important for the Russian policymakers as well. But again, we know there are certain domestic pressures, but at the same time, there are certain international pressures. That is why we see that this pipeline project is still in the doldrums. Karachi Steel Mills, the largest steel mills of Pakistan, it was established with the help of Soviet Union at that time and Russia time and again it has given us green signal that it is going to help to rebuild and restart the steel mills of Pakistan at Karachi. So I think this is another important avenue where we can, Russia and Pakistan, they can go and they can dig out opportunities and they can enhance their relations as well. Uh, Another important area, obviously, which I've already explained, anti-terrorism. This is one of the areas which actually brought Pakistan and Russia closer to each other. So, as we know that Pakistan and Russia both are the members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that is a multilateral organization. And under the SCO, there is one regional anti-terrorism structure that is based in Tashkent. And the important objective of that RATS is to share the intelligence so far the terrorist and extremist and counter-terrorism and counter-extremism policies by the states are concerned. So I think this is another area where we can explore. And obviously there are certain joint level, groups and mechanisms where both the states they are collaborating and cooperating with each other. But obviously we need to do something very, very pragmatic and practical in this particular context. Another important area is stability in Afghanistan. Again, we know that most of the scholars they declare and they rightly actually assess that instability in Afghanistan is the major drawback or major missing link between the connectivity of South and Central Asia. So Russia also wants alternative routes to access the international markets, particularly through the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean region, where we know that the Black Sea is a turbulent region, and the conflict with Ukraine is over there, and this conflict may lead, and obviously Dr. Tughlaq Jami is going to explain in details what would be the future of this conflict. But obviously, what I understand is it would have long-term impacts on the whole region, particularly on Russian Federation. So the second best option for Russia in this regard is access to the Indian Ocean region. And again, the North-South corridor is one of their brainchild, but they are also focusing onto the alternatives, and they are well connected with the Central Asian railway and road networks. So once Afghanistan's stability is it is achieved, and Pakistan and Afghanistan position to construct the proposed Trans-Afghan Railway project, obviously that is going to open up different avenues and more options for both Pakistan and Russia to collaborate, not only in economic, but people to people and social context as well. So we see that one thing that is connectivity. Second is the extremist and terrorist elements which are hiding in Afghanistan. Obviously, Pakistan is facing severe kind of terrorist activities in the shape of TTP, and Pakistan would definitely like to have permanent stability in Afghanistan. And good thing is Moscow is also very much interested. They have nominated their representative for Afghanistan as well. So we see that I have read some news that maybe Moscow is going to recognize Taliban maybe in near future. So let's see what happens. But stability in Afghanistan is one of the best opportunities for both the countries to collaborate and cooperate. The Russian government, it has also offered its technical assistance in the Gudu and Muzaffargarh power plants. Obviously, this is one of the areas, civil nuclear support, or area where we can have collaboration on a larger level. So Pakistan has struck deal with Russia for the import of crude oil undiscounted price, but I think it should be a permanent feature. But again, we know that the American and the Western pressure is there in Pakistan, and Pakistan has to seek assistance from IMF and other international financial institutions. Therefore, it's not an easy task for Pakistan, but I think Pakistan should do something, if they are not going to get the maximum, but whatever they could, they should do it, and they should try to get it out of that. I have already explained about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So far, Eurasian Economic Union is concerned. That is one of the organizations that is established, that was established on the pattern of European Union. Although it is not a successful model like the European Union, but even then we see that at least they have established a free market within the member states. So if Pakistan can access to any of the Eurasian Union countries, it can access to the other countries. So Moscow or Russia being the most dominant member of the Eurasian Economic Union can be detrimental in this aspect as well. Then we know that since we don't have, a lot of things on the bilateral level to achieve. Obviously, there are pressures, national, regional, and global. So we can involve China, or we can involve any other country which is ready to join Pakistan and Russia in the multilateral agreement, whether it's for the economic purposes, trade purposes, investment, energy, or social sector as well, whatever. So I think China can be one of the good options because China has very good relations with both Pakistan and Russia, so it can get both the countries further closer to each other. I have discussed about Trans-Afghan Railway Project and North-South Corridor, and BRI, obviously, three major, I would say, corridors of BRI, they pass through Russia, Central Asia, and Pakistan. So again, once these corridors, they are materialized, there are chances that we are getting closer to each other. Now, this cooperation should be expanded to other fields like agriculture. We know Pakistan's economy is primarily based on agriculture, and Russia has vast experience in agriculture and agrotechnology as well. Besides agriculture, technology and infrastructure are other areas where both the countries, they can cooperate with each other. However, there are certain challenges. The most important is the Indian factor, I would say, because if Russia has to choose between Pakistan and India, obviously its interest primarily matches with India than Pakistan, and I think it won't make relations with Pakistan at the expense of its relations with India. Although India is into the Western camp now, but again, India is a very important country so far the Indian Ocean region is concerned, and keeping in view the historical chronology and trajectory into mind, we see that Russia is, Indian factor is one of the major factors so far Russian policy towards Pakistan is concerned. And we know that Russia has supported the India's national nuclear supply group membership as well. So this depicts that despite Pakistan's objections and Pakistan's protest, Russia is into the favor of India. Then Pakistan Stream Gas Pipeline Project, we know that the company that was Arctic Global, which was nominated by the Russian side, it was banned by the US back in 2016. However, we see that the project, it has been given to the other companies now, but still, we have to face the American pressure, the Western pressure in this context as well. Now, considering the current state of the US-Russia relations, we know that Washington will not let any country get closer to Russia. And particularly if we talk in terms of Pakistan, obviously, it is not in any favor that Pakistan join the anti-American camp. Therefore, under the current geopolitical situation and considering the US historical rivalry with Russia, Pakistan will be under a lot of pressure from the West. Now, there are a few other challenges like lack of trust at both the sides. Again, it's rooted into the historical relationship where we see that both the states, they had been against each other. Therefore, it would take some time to build the trust back. Next is the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Dr. Tughlal is going to explain in detail. People-to-people connectivity is almost nil. And the bilateral trade volume, although it is around $1 billion, but still it is very, very low. And unless it is not increased, our relation with Russia, or Russia relation with Pakistan, they would be fragile. So let me conclude. The global transition of power is a complex phenomena. Although the world is heading towards multipolarity, the pace is very slow. US still enjoys the undisputed superpower status, at least theoretically. US tilt towards India to keep China and the Indian Ocean region under its control has also paved the way for improved Pakistan and Russia relations. Pakistan has good relations with China and relations are improving with Russia. However, it cannot overlook its relations with the US and the West, with which it has largest trade relations. Pakistan often seeks economic assistance from the IMF as well. Therefore, Pakistan has to have good relations with the West and the US. Therefore, it is the need of the time that Pakistan should keep its options open and pursue a multi-vector foreign policy which may help it achieve a balanced relationship with regional as well as the great powers. And Pakistan should focus on stabilizing its economic and political conditions. Russia is the options in that context. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful presentation. Now I would like to request Brigadier Dr. Rukul Jamin Saab to please give his remarks on the impact of Russia-Ukraine war on Pakistan-Ukraine relations. Sir, please.
Thank you very much, Waleed, for inviting me, and thank you very much, Ambassador Brar Saab, Khalid Rahman Saab, Fakhrul Islam Saab, and Adam Saud Saab. I will talk about Pakistan-Ukraine relationship. Can you please switch on the slide? Okay, this is a short presentation that I have prepared. Okay. It's about impact of Russia-Ukraine war on Pakistan-Ukraine relations. And I will try to focus on defense and trade relations, basically primarily defense relationship. First of all, there's quite a confusion in the world these days because Mr. Trump has become the 47th president of the United States. He has been the 45th one also. And suddenly everything is going topsy-turvy inside the United States and also in the world also. He wants to fix everything in a rush. He says that he's going to bring about peace in Ukraine. He has talked to Mr. Putin, and his envoys have been meeting the Russian counterparts also. And if it happens, it can happen. Everything is possible with Mr. Trump around. If that happens, whatever I'm saying may perhaps be something which may not happen. But anyway, keeping the predictable variables in mind, I'll tell you a few things. Next slide, please. A second. Okay. Okay. First of all, the Russia-Ukraine war has disrupted global politics, economy, and trade. We know all of that. Ukraine was part of the supply chain for grain, and Pakistan was also getting grain from Ukraine. And Russia, we know that, was in the business of supplying energy, particularly to Europe, and also oil to the rest of the world. So both Russia and Ukraine were suppliers of major commodities: grain, defense equipment, energy. So their war has actually upset the world. And before the war, Russia and Ukraine had good relations. Ukrainians, most of them, Philip might bear me out, speak Russian, if I'm not wrong. Even Zelensky speaks Russian. Their names are same. Volodymyr Zelensky, Vladimir Putin. I don't find a lot of difference in the names. They are perhaps of common stock also. So, but it has upset the entire world. Pakistan's relationship with Ukraine have been strong in defense and trade, and there is a reason for it. Since Russia wasn't very forthcoming about providing defense hardware to Pakistan, Pakistan found it convenient to get Ukrainian hardware because they were basically Russians in make, but there were no objections from Indian side. So we were having T-80 tanks, and I'll talk about that again in my presentation, and IL-78 air-to-air refuelers. So we had good defense ties, and we had good trade with them, with Ukrainians. The trade with Ukraine was something in the region of 800 million US dollars. They were the major supplier of grain to us. And you may also be knowing that traditionally, for a very long time, the ambassador of Pakistan to Ukraine has been a general. And there is a reason for that. Taimur Sahib will be knowing more about it. So the purpose of this presentation is to analyze how the war has impacted Pakistan-Ukraine relations, focusing on defense and trade. So as we know, it has been a major supplier of defense goods to Pakistan. While I was in the army, I remember in my division, we had a regiment of T-80UD tanks. It was part of our formation, the divisional reserve. And we also know that we have got 4 IL-78 air-to-air refuelers, basically Russian made, but we purchased them from Ukraine. And the air pods meant for the refueling are of Russian make. The aircraft engines and modernization of military equipment. So all of that we were doing with Ukraine because open defense ties with Russia have been problematic because of Indian objections. Even now, when Mr. Trump has offered F-35 aircraft to India, Russia has been quick in offering M57 stealth aircraft to India, 5th generation. So India has been a major buyer of Russian equipment. There are no two arguments about it, although our relationship with Russia is improving, but still a lot of Russian equipment is sold to India, and they have to keep in mind Indian objections. And about trade, Ukraine exported wheat, edible oils, and machinery to Pakistan. And Pakistan trades with Ukraine was, I said 800 million because that was the figure I read this morning, but in my presentation I've said $700 million before the war. It has decreased considerably because Ukraine is in the war zone, and once the war broke out, the grain supply stopped actually, and then the Black Sea supply of grain came to Pakistan's rescue, as it did to many other countries also. So Pakistan is in the supply chain of grain from Ukraine. Disruption in supply chains, already talked about it. Ukrainian defense industries has been affected by the war. Many of the places where defense equipment is made has been bombed. They're not producing defense equipment. And there have been delays in delivery of equipment to Pakistan. And we are foreseeing possible cancellations also. So Pakistan has been seeking alternate suppliers. China has been a dependable supplier of defense goods to Pakistan, and Turkey for military needs. Turkey and China both are major suppliers of drones. So drone is the future of warfare. Perhaps F-35 aircraft, as the Indian opposition has said, pieces of junk, they would not be required. Perhaps the whole world would be shifting to pilotless vehicles. So Pakistan, as has been said by speakers before me, Ambassador Brar Sahab, as well as Professor Adam Saud Sahab also, Pakistan does not want to side with any country. And Pakistan's Foreign Office has been very clear. We want to maintain friendly relations with Russia. We all understand that Russia is a major power despite the war. And we also know that Mr. Trump wants to have better relations with Russia. Putin, they're on talking terms. He has been calling Mr. Putin on telephone. So we also don't want to annoy the Americans also. We want to be peaceful. We don't want to shift into the Cold War mode. I have lived throughout my life in the Cold War. When I was in the army, we were very clear. We were siding with the US camp, not with the Russians, but perhaps that was also a mistake on our part. We should have been even-handed there also. But at that time, perhaps our leaders thought that to counter India, we needed quick defense equipment, and that was only coming from the Americans. So, but there were consequences. Russia was annoyed with us for a very long time. We were on unfriendly terms, and it has taken our policymakers, our leaders, our diplomats a lot of time to mend fences, to make it palatable for the Russians to accept us. And now we know that we are holding joint Jurba or friendship exercises with the Russians. And as Adam Saud Saab has very correctly pointed out, they have also taken place in Gilgit-Baltistan, which we think is our integral part. India may think otherwise, but they can go to hell from my side. Okay, trade, we know that grain stopped. There was increased cost of when we imported grain from elsewhere, from Central Asia, there were higher prices for importing this wheat. Edible oil, fuel prices affected Pakistan's economy. And we shifted to Russia and Kazakhstan for wheat imports. And overall, the global supply chain was disrupted when there was an inflation all over the world. Even in Europe, a donor was costing €3 in Germany. Before the war, it now costs something like €9 to €10, and it is the common staple food for people in Berlin and other major cities of Germany. So from €3, €8, $9, $10, that is how the prices of edibles has escalated. And it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's not only Pakistan. So Pakistan's diplomatic stance has been, we have avoided taking stance in the war. We say that we don't want to side with anybody. We want peace in the region because, unfortunately, we are almost a neighbor of Russia. So anything that happens in this region is going to affect us. And we also know that many times the surge in terrorism that happens in our region happens because of what is happening in Russia or the surrounding areas. Pakistan has abstained from voting against Russia in the UN. Our stance is very calibrated. We are not taking any sides. We are not giving any indication that we are with any of the two warring parties. We want best for the two countries. We want good relations with all countries in the world, including the US, China, India, everybody. So this is a difficult balancing act, but I think our diplomats are doing a good job. And as mentioned by Ambassador Ibrar Saab, also our foreign minister, deputy prime minister, has also said as much that we don't want to take sides in this war. So if the war stops, hopefully it will stop. Whether Mr. Zelensky agrees to it or not, whether the Europeans agree to it or not, I think it's going to stop. It cannot continue indefinitely. And if Trump is going to put his weight behind it, he might as well achieve some kind of fragile peace. So if the war stops, maybe in a year's time or 2 years' time, some kind of defense activity, defense import can resume with Ukraine unless the Russians decide to fill in the gap and supply us with tanks and aircraft and other things. And again, if Ukraine again becomes a major hub of producing wheat and machinery, Pakistan would like to buy it from them at a smaller cost, lesser cost. And meanwhile, Pakistan will continue to play. Pakistan cannot broker peace, but Pakistan wants to benefit from peace in the area from both countries, Russia and Ukraine. So in summary, supply chains were disrupted, costs were increased. We had to shift to other sources for import of defense goods as well as grain. And but we believe in neutrality. We do not want to annoy anybody. We want to keep our guards up. We want to have a strong defense. We do not want India to coerce us, and it can only be done if we have a strong military. We are all aware of that. Nuclear deterrence notwithstanding, we need to have strong conventional defenses. And that is all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for your remarks, sir. Now, I would like to call Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi. She will be speaking on strengthening ties Pakistan-Russia cooperation in international platforms and evolving foreign policy. She will be joining us online. Ma'am, please.
Thank you very much, Waleed. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, you are, ma'am.
Okay, give me a second so I can share my slides.
Sure.
I hope the slides are visible to all of you.
Not yet. Yes, they are visible.
Okay. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Vice Chairman, Ambassador Abrar Hussain, and the Institute of Policy Studies, particularly Mr. Waleed, for giving me this opportunity to participate in this very important conference. I'm thankful to the chair, Dr. Fakhrul Islam, and I'm very glad to see Professor Dr. Adam Saud, who is our dean from Beria University, and Mr. Taimur Fahad Khan, who is my former student. And thank you, Dr. Tughrel, for sharing your insights on the Ukraine war and its impact. So much has been discussed about the Russia-Pakistan relations, and almost all of us agree on this thing that they are in transition and they are in a process of evolution. So much of the thing has been talked about the bilateral relations between the two states, and as many discussants have pointed out very correctly, that they are moving upward, they are in a phase of transition. But I would like to see the relations between Pakistan and Russia in the context of multilateralism. So the topic that I have been given is strengthening ties, Pakistan-Russia cooperation in international platform and evolving foreign policy. I was given 8 minutes, so I made my presentation according to the given time. So this research that I'm going to present seeks to explore the significance of multilateralism, international cooperation and collaboration, and strategic shifts, particularly in the case of Russia and Pakistan. Moving forward, this is the sequence of my presentation. So, international forums, of course, are very, very vital platforms upon which nations they engage in diplomacy, economic collaboration, and security cooperation. So this signify multilateralism, which is interlinked with the multi-level governance that tends to enhance the regional stability. So it is very important for us to understand that what is the significance of multilateralism and multilateral diplomacy, particularly in the phase where international order is shifting, the power politics is and economics and everything is, bringing change in the international political order as well as economic order. So it's very, very important for the nations to collaborate, for the nations to cooperate with each other. So the multilateralism would become increasingly significant. It has been and it will continue to be increasingly significant as a mechanism for collective problem solving, conflict resolution, and global governance also, which I think Russia aimed to transform also. And of course, Pakistan also deemed to need to have the diversification. So the multilateral institutions like especially those institutions in which Russia and Pakistan are part of or would be part of, such as United Nations Organization, Shanghai Cooperation Organizations, and the possible inclusion of Pakistan into the BRICS. So these would provide a platform for both states to collaborate while reducing the reliance on unilateral or bloc-based politics. So this would not only do that, but it will also foster the diplomatic and strategic diplomatic engagement, strategic partnerships that would allow both the states, especially the middle power like Pakistan and the major power like Russian Federation, to not only diversify their alliances, but to navigate through power asymmetries and assert their roles in shaping the global politics. So through multilateralism, these states would be able to engage in multilateral governance frameworks to address the shared challenges that both states have. So it will not only strengthen the multilateral governance, but that will also strengthen their bilateral bilateral relations also. So Pakistan's and Russia's participation into these international forums will strengthen their bilateral ties, enhance their strategic autonomy in the changing global order, and it will be an important avenue for the states to diversify their alliances, particularly in the sense that without over-reliance on traditional alliances, they would be able to diversify their alliances. And engaging in these multilateral organizations would provide the platform and avenues to diversify their partnerships to counterbalance the Western influence and promote the economic relations and security interest of the both states through alternate financial mechanisms, for instance, defense collaboration, regional connectivity, and such things. So both countries, I believe, can leverage these platforms to address the shared challenges such as terrorism, energy security, and geopolitical realignment. So moving forward, talking about the evolving foreign policy approaches, I think much of the thing has been said about how both, especially Professor Dr. Adam Sood had talked about how the Pakistan's foreign policy and how both states have evolved from the previous animosity towards a more cooperative stance towards each other. So Russia and Pakistan's evolving foreign policy approaches, they reflect a strategic recalibration. Now, this strategic recalibration is, of course, driven by the shifting global power dynamics and mutual interest in regional stability. Both of them, the most important thing is to get out of the dominated orbit of the Western power influence, in which, of course, Russia want to reassert itself as a global power, and Pakistan want to diversify its economic and political relations with the other major powers. One thing which we have to understand is that the proximity between Russia and Pakistan. There is a lot of geographical proximity, and Pakistan and Russia's relation should be viewed in the context of and should be understood, and policies should be formed in the context of the geographical proximity. Because of the geographical proximity, we have a lot of shared interest, whether they are geopolitical interest or geostrategic interest or geoeconomic interest. So because of the regional proximity, both states tend to believe that and tend to cooperate with each other, as well as both states should now reassess their previous policies and to reformulate them in a more active manner to come close towards each other, forgetting about any differences that they have. So we all know that Russia was traditionally aligned with India, which has expanded. But now, if you closely see and study the foreign policy concept of the Russian Federation, it is clearly mentioned that the world has been changing and Russia needs new partnerships. So Russia, I think, has understand the fact that new partnerships has to be made because of the emerging new factors and actors. So it had expanded its engagement with Pakistan as part of its Look East policy. And I think they are seeking new partnerships beyond West, particularly in the South and Central Asia. On the other hand, for Pakistan, like I discussed before also, that strategic diversification is very, very important for Pakistan. Pakistan has long been aligned with the Western influence, enjoying the benefits always as well as the cost that it has paid. Now, Pakistan has also understand the fact that Pakistan needs a diversification in its foreign affairs. which Pakistan tried to do that and unfortunately was not very successful because of its own constraints, whether they are political or economic constraints. But I think the policymakers in Pakistan, they understand the fact that we need to get away from the Western dependencies and to cultivate more multi-vector diplomacy and to deepen the ties with the other major powers, particularly Russia and China. With China, of course, we enjoy a good relationship, but for Russia, in the realm of defense, energy, and multilateral diplomacy, I think both of the states, Pakistan is also doing that along with the help of China, I would say. Now, their growing cooperation in international forums like SCO, UN, and the possible inclusion in the BRICS signify that the Pakistan and Russia both are now into more pragmatism, and it underscores a pragmatic alignment. Of course, driven by the shared interest, which are regional security. Like I said before, that due to geographical proximity, we have a lot in common and we have a lot to share with. So regional security is one of the fundamental concern of both Russia and Pakistan, because security is something that Russians are also very much inclined towards to make and ensure the security, and on the other hand, Pakistan is also very much would like to ensure its security, both traditional and non-traditional. And of course, the economic situation of the both states. Pakistan's economic situation is, of course, not very good, and Russia, because of the sanctions, they are also facing the economic problems, and the rising multipolarity is one thing where both states, they would need to find new partnerships in different regions so that they can strengthen their position in the emerging multipolar world. So their engagement in these platforms shows a gradual yet significant transformation in the bilateral relations, moving beyond past divergences towards structured collaboration in defense, energy, and diplomacy. While historical constraints persist, but these forums, are very important platforms where they can minimize the mistrust and maximize the trust and cooperation in the different realm. So these platforms are very, very important because they would provide them the strategic space for dialogue, which will for dialogue, cooperation, and policy collaboration, which will strengthen their long-term relations. So moving forward towards the key areas of bilateral engagement, I would like to discuss this bilateralism in the context of international forums. Basically, Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the foremost international forum or multilateral forum in which, and it is the only regional organization where Russia and Pakistan both are the permanent member states. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the foremost international platform or multilateral forum where both can achieve a lot of things as discussed before and will be discussed. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization, of course, we know that Pakistan became the full member in 2017, and it served as the strategic platform for Russia and Pakistan. And it is a very important platform which would offer the avenue for the security cooperation, economic engagement, and diplomatic alignment in the shifting global balance of power. Through SCO, there is, as it was mentioned in another presentation also, the regional anti-terrorism structure, RATS, where this is very important platform to for the counter-terrorism, where both states can learn from each other and can enhance their counter-terrorism efforts through intelligence sharing, which is already happening, and the military cooperation between the two states. So this would be the foremost the RATS would be the foremost platform where both states could enhance their security concerns. Both can address their security concerns, and the issue of the Afghanistan also could be addressed in that manner, because of course terrorism and extremism is something which had a spillover effect, and Afghanistan is a factor, as a state, which is very important for both states to understand that these could, these could help them to minimize their security issues. Next is the United Nations organization. Both Pakistan and Russia have common grounds and common stances over various international issues. For example, the rights of the Palestinians, for example, the concept of sovereignty, multilateralism, and balanced world order and balanced approach towards other states. Moreover, BRICS is the institution or a multi-level governance model in which Pakistan is still not the member, but Pakistan expects that Russia would support the inclusion of Pakistan into the BRICS, and Russians, they also, through various statements, said that they perceive Pakistan as a friendly nation, and that if Pakistan would be included in the BRICS, they have no problem. And of course, China would also support into the entry of Pakistan into the BRICS. So if that could happen, of course, that would bring fruitful things for the Pakistan and Russia both. How it will bring, of course, it will promote the alternative trade and financial mechanism, such as the de-dollarization and the trade and investment in the local currency. And if that could happen, of course, that would be beneficial for both of the states. So, of course, it will be more beneficial for Pakistan because Pakistan would have access to the Russian markets, towards its banking system, towards into the resource network also. On the other hand, of course, Russia would be able to enjoy, and Russia would be able to diversify its economic partnerships and access to the South Asian, to the greater South Asian in the context to the greater, they already have, but that would expand, of course. And if it would expand, that would help it to counterbalance the Western sanctions by expanding to the non-Western trade alliances also. So this collaboration could pave way for joint infrastructure projects, energy, diplomacy, and greater financial autonomy for both of the states. So moving forward towards Russia's and Pakistan's cooperation in international platform, the nature of relations, what is the nature of relations in these platforms? So the nature of Pakistan-Russia cooperation in these international platform is also evolving from a limited interest engagement towards a more structured and strategic partnership, of course, driven by shared geopolitical and economic objectives. But one thing that we have to understand is that the entry into the SCO would also facilitated by the Chinese. And China is a very important factor where Russians kind of have more trust towards Chinese, and Pakistan had been using Chinese as a facilitating role to support the Pakistan's entry into
Dr.
SCO.
Perez, you could conclude your remarks now, please.
Okay. So this emerging dynamic suggests a more institutionalized and long-term partnership where both nations leverage multilateral platforms to expand their influence and navigate the shifting global order. I have already discussed that through RADS, they could learn from each other's experience in the realm of counter-terrorism and to enhance regional security, particularly Afghanistan is a factor, which is troublesome and worrisome aspect for both of the states because that is threatening the peace of the region. And of course, that is not in the interest of Pakistan and Russia. So Afghanistan is one that arena where both states have mutual interest, and counterterrorism is another. Through SCO, there had been a lot of cultural exchanges programs, which of course, based on because a significant number of Muslim population is residing in Russian Federation. So there had been a lot of cultural exchanges programs, and there's more potential for the cultural exchange. So where Russia and Pakistan could do that. So while concluding my presentation, the Pakistan-Russia Cooperation International Platform reflects a strategic shift in both countries' foreign policies, yet it remains constrained by geopolitical complexities and structural limitations. Like when the Russia-Ukraine war occurred, Pakistan had to again choose the sides, which is not possible for Pakistan to choose the sides. So Pakistan would like to, I believe, be independent in its foreign policy approaches and choices. But unfortunately, geopolitics and international order was designed in such a way where Pakistan had to get into a troublesome situation. While their growing engagement in the international platform signals a diversification of alliances, it is largely pragmatic rather than transformational. Driven by situational convergences rather than deep-seated strategic alignment. Like I said, that most of it is facilitated by the China. Otherwise, it should be open for the Pakistan. There should be more trust between the two states. Furthermore, their engagement in multilateral forums lacks a clear long-term strategic framework, making their collaboration largely reactive rather than proactive, unless both states address the structural challenges and institutionalize their partnership. Beyond ad hoc cooperation, their engagement in international forums may remain symbolic rather than truly impactful in reshaping the global power dynamics. Thank you very much. That's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Farah, for your remarks. Now, I would request Mr. Taimur Fahad Khan to speak on the topic Converging Pakistan-Russia Strategic Interest in the Transforming Global Order.
Thank you, Waleed. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'll try to remain within the time limit. So I'll skim through my points really quickly and so that more time is available for question answer session. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, organizers, and my esteemed professors. Assalamu alaikum and zdravstvuyte, if I'm pronouncing this correctly. It is an honor to address this esteemed gathering on the topic of converging Pakistan-Russia strategic interests in the transforming global order. In an era marked by shifting alliances and emerging power centers, the relationship between Pakistan and Russia has undergone a significant transformation, evolving from historical estrangement to a partnership grounded in mutual strategic interests. Historically, Pakistan and Russia found themselves on the opposite sides of the geopolitical spectrum during the Cold War. However, the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the subsequent emergence of a multipolar world order have provided both nations with opportunities to reassess and redefine their bilateral relations. This realignment is driven by a shared desire to enhance regional stability, economic growth, and security. A cornerstone of this burgeoning partnership is defense and security cooperation. Various mechanisms have been established between Pakistan and Russia, including the Pakistan-Russia Joint Military Consultative Committee, the Pakistan-Russia Joint Working Group on Counterterrorism, the Pakistan-Russia Consultative Group on Strategic Stability, and the Pakistan-Russia Memorandum of Understanding for Naval Cooperation, to name a few. The two nations have engaged in joint military exercises, and as mentioned earlier, notably the Druzhba exercise, which have bolstered mutual trust and interoperability between their armed forces. These exercises underscore a commitment of combating shared security threats, including terrorism and extremism. Additionally, Russia is now a regular participant of the Aman naval exercises, including this year's Aman 2025, which bring together multiple navies for joint maritime security and anti-piracy operations. This naval collaboration further strengthens military ties between Pakistan and Russia, enhancing their strategic partnership in the maritime domain as well. Moreover, as mentioned earlier, under the umbrella of the SCO, Pakistan and Russia have intensified their cooperation, particularly within the Regional Anti-Terrorism Structure, also known as RATS. This mechanism facilitates intelligence sharing, coordinated counterterrorism strategies, and capacity building measures aimed at neutralizing transnational threats. Such collaborations reflect a shared vision for regional stability and highlights the increasing depth of Pakistan-Russia security ties. Furthermore, Russia's acceptance of Pakistan's defense needs as legitimate reflects a pragmatic shift in its South Asian policy, moving away from a historical India-centric approach. This shift was notably marked by Russia lifting unilateral sanctions against Pakistan back in 2014, paving the way for enhanced defense cooperation. As mentioned earlier, following this policy change, Pakistan and Russia have engaged in significant arms deal, including Pakistan's acquisition of Mi-35M Bell attack helicopters and other military equipment. Additionally, high-level visits between the top military officials of both countries have reinforced this growing defense collaboration. For example, in July 2024, Pakistan's Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, General Sahir Shamshad, visited Moscow to discuss bolstering military-to-military ties and explore technical cooperation in defense and counterterrorism. Subsequently, in September 2024, the Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Overchuk traveled to Islamabad, where he met with Pakistan's Army Chief, General Asim Munir, to further deepen economic and defense cooperation. These exchanges have solidified military-to-military ties, underscoring Pakistan's pivotal role in maintaining the regional balance of power and Russia's broader strategic recalibration in South Asia. Now to the economic and energy collaboration. Economic ties between Pakistan and Russia have experienced a significant upsurge. In 2023, bilateral trade surpassed the $1 billion mark, a substantial increase from approximately $580 million back in 2022. This growth reflects a deepening economic partnership and a concerted effort to diversify each other's trade portfolios. One of the most significant recent developments in this economic cooperation is Russia's offer to help revitalize Pakistan's steel mills, a facility originally established by with Soviet assistance. In July 2024, Russian Consul General Andrei Viktorovich Fedorov reaffirmed Russia's commitment to restoring the steel mills, recognizing their historical significance in Pakistan-Russia cooperation. Building on this, in September 2024, both nations agreed to establish a new steel mill in Karachi on 700 acres of existing PSM land, strategically located near Port Qasim. This initiative aims to revive Pakistan's steel industry and strengthen economic infrastructure in the country. To advance this effort, a team of Russian technical experts visited Pakistan in early 2025 to assess the feasibility of the project, with a final decision expected by June 2025. This initiative underscores Russia's role as a key economic partner in Pakistan's industrial revitalization and highlights the evolving nature of their bilateral economic relationship. A pivotal project exemplifying this collaboration is the Pakistan Stream Gas Pipeline project. Estimated at $2.5 billion, this 1,100-kilometer pipeline was designed to transport 12.4 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually from Karachi to Lahore. The project, although is in a limbo at the moment, aims to address Pakistan's energy shortfall and signify Russia's strategic investment in the region's energy infrastructure. In addition to infrastructure projects, both nations have signed agreements to bolster energy cooperation as well. Notably, starting January 2025, Pakistan have started to import 12 cargoes of discounted Russian crude annually under a renewed agreement, further solidifying energy ties and contributing to Pakistan's energy security. Now moving to the geopolitical realignments and multilateral engagements. The shifting global order has prompted both nations to seek alliances that reflect their strategic interests. Pakistan and Russia are active members of the SCO, engaging in initiatives that promote regional security, economic cooperation, and counterterrorism efforts. Additionally, Pakistan has maintained an objective and principled stance since the commencement of the Russia-Ukraine conflict since February 2022. Recognizing Russia's security concerns while advocating for political dialogue, Pakistan has refrained from taking sides and instead promoted a balanced approach, emphasizing the need for diplomatic engagement over military confrontation. This policy has played a significant role in enhancing Pakistan-Russia relations, as Moscow now views Islamabad as a pragmatic partner in an increasingly polarized world. Moreover, Russia has expressed support for Pakistan's inclusion in BRICS grouping, a move that would further integrate Pakistan into emerging economic and political blocs, enhancing its role in global decision-making processes. Additionally, Pakistan has been engaging with Eurasian Economic Union as well, a regional economic bloc which is led by Russia, which aims to facilitate trade and economic integration among member states. Pakistan's growing cooperation with the EAEU offers new opportunities for trade diversification, improved market access, and strengthened connectivity between Pakistan and the broader Eurasian region. The potential for preferential trade agreements and economic partnerships within this framework further solidifies the Pakistan-Russia strategic and economic relationship. Beyond BRICS, Pakistan and Russia collaborate on multiple international platforms reflecting their shared interests and perspectives. One of such platforms is the Pakistan-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, and Technical Cooperation. The 9th meeting of this commission was held in December 2024 in Moscow, which focused on enhancing collaboration across various sectors, including finance, banking, transport, energy, industry, education, science, and agriculture. This comprehensive engagement highlights the multifaceted nature of their partnership and a shared vision for economic development. Additionally, Pakistan and Russia actively engage in the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, also known as CICA, a forum that fosters dialogue and cooperation on security and economic issues among Asian nations. This platform has enabled both countries to align their perspectives on regional peace and economic integration. Another significant area of the collaboration is the Strategic Vision Group, Russia and the Islamic World, where Russia engages with Pakistan as a key member of the Muslim world. This engagement has strengthened diplomatic ties and enhanced cultural, religious, and economic cooperation between the two nations. Furthermore, Russia's strong stance against Islamophobia has found alignment with Pakistan's global advocacy efforts to combat religious discrimination. This common position has further deepened their partnership in multilateral forums, such as the UN, reinforcing shared values and mutual support in international diplomatic initiatives. Now to the regional stability and counterterrorism. Both nations share a vested interest in the stability of Afghanistan. Collaborative efforts aim to prevent the resurgence of terrorism and militancy and ensure a peaceful environment conducive to regional connectivity and economic development. This partnership is crucial in addressing the complex security dynamics of the region. Pakistan and Russia also cooperate closely to curb international terrorism and narco-trafficking emanating from Afghanistan. Both countries have taken joint initiatives to counter the growing drug trade, which is a major source of funding for extremist organizations. According to UNODC, Afghanistan remains as the world's largest producer of opium still, accounting for over 85% of the global supply in 2023. Recognizing this challenge, Pakistan and Russia have worked together on intelligence sharing and border security measures to combat drug smuggling networks. In the wake of the withdrawal of foreign troops from Afghanistan in 2021, Pakistan and Russia have played an active role in fostering stability through various diplomatic initiatives. Notably, both countries have been key participants in the Troika and the extended Troika mechanisms, which have brought together major stakeholders, including China and the US, to facilitate dialogue with Afghan factions and encourage a political settlement. These collaborative engagements underscore Pakistan and Russia's shared commitment to Afghanistan's stability, reinforcing their broader strategic cooperation on counterterrorism, counter-narcotics operations, and regional security. Now, some of the challenges and the path forward in this bilateral relationship. While the trajectory of Pakistan-Russia relations is promising, challenges persist. Geopolitical tensions, economic sanctions, and regional conflicts necessitate continuous diplomatic engagement and policy alignment. Both nations must navigate these complexities to sustain and enhance their partnership. Another major challenge is the evolving global power dynamics, where shifting alliances and economic uncertainties require both nations to adapt their policies pragmatically. Additionally, trade restrictions and financial sanctions on Russia have impacted economic cooperation, necessitating innovative mechanisms to facilitate smooth bilateral trade, including agreements on alternative payment systems. Pakistan's own economic woes, including high inflation, a growing external debt burden, and a fragile financial sector, further exacerbate its vulnerability to external pressures. These economic difficulties limit Pakistan's ability to fully capitalize on its strategic partnerships, creating a significant challenge in sustaining long-term cooperative initiatives with Russia and other key allies. However, opportunities for cooperation remain vast. Expanding collaboration in civilian nuclear energy can provide Pakistan with sustainable energy solutions, reducing its reliance on fossil fuels while leveraging Russia's technological expertise in the field. The case of Bangladesh is in front of us. Furthermore, academic and research partnerships present significant growth potential, allowing knowledge exchange in science, technology, and innovation. Cultural exchanges also offer a vital means of deepening ties, fostering people-to-people connections and strengthening mutual understanding between the two nations. Additionally, there is untapped potential for cooperation in agriculture, medicine, health, and infrastructure development. Joint initiatives in these sectors can enhance food security, improve healthcare systems, and facilitate economic modernization, further solidifying Pakistan-Russia relations. Despite these challenges, both countries have demonstrated resilience in strengthening their ties. The continued pursuit of strategic cooperation in defense, energy, and multilateral engagements will be vital in ensuring a stable and beneficial partnership in the evolving global order. Furthermore, infrastructural and logistical bottlenecks pose hurdles in fully realizing the economic potential between Pakistan and Russia. The successful implementation of connectivity projects, including the PSGP project, depends on overcoming financial, regulatory, and operational challenges. Now, in conclusion, the converging strategic interests of Pakistan and Russia in the transforming global order are evident across defense, economic, and geopolitical domains. This partnership not only serves the national interests of both countries, but also contributes to the regional stability and the emergence of a more balanced global order. The increasing level of cooperation in defense, counterterrorism, energy, trade, and multilateral platforms demonstrates a shared commitment to addressing global and regional challenges. Despite obstacles such as economic constraints, shifting geopolitical alignments, and external pressures, both nations have shown resilience in advancing their bilateral ties. The future of Pakistan-Russia relations depend on sustained diplomatic engagements, further economic diversification, and strengthened strategic coordination. As we move forward, it is imperative to build upon this foundation, fostering a relationship that is resilient, dynamic, and mutually beneficial. Through continued collaboration and an adaptable approach to global shifts, Pakistan and Russia can emerge as key players in shaping a more multipolar and cooperative world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taimur bhai. Now we are open to question and answer sessions. We will have a 10 minutes long question and answer session, and after that we will have remarks from our worthy chair. So if anyone wants to ask any question, please. You are requested to please state your name, your university, and then you can ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Tayyib Siddiqui. I am from International Islamic University, Islamabad. And my question is open to all panelists that we have seen in recent years that Pakistan has grown its strategic relations with China and Russia. And if we see in the triangular framework taking between China, between Russia, Pakistan, and America. So how will Pakistan counter the balances from Russia, and what is the future of this relationship? Either it is going to be Pakistan is going to be a hedging partner of Russia or totally a whole partner of Russia. Thank you.
Or
I think Pakistan has made it clear a number of times that we are not into blocks politics anymore. So, and even Russians and Chinese are discouraging it. The Chinese president in a speech last year very clearly said that you shouldn't join bloc politics. So they are not encouraging that again there should be Soviet bloc or Chinese bloc or American bloc. So what they are saying is that the world is multipolar. You can have a balance in your relationship with all the other countries. And that's what Pakistan is doing. Pakistan is trying to be neutral. If there is a war, we don't side with anyone. But so far as our economic interests are concerned, we look into our own interests. If we can benefit from one country, why not? And if we can benefit from the other country, we do so. So no longer any bloc politics, but we will not be enemy to anyone. We will try to improve our relations with Russia, and we will remain a friend to China. And at the same time, we won't be an enemy to the Americans or the West.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Tayyib, and I am a visiting faculty at National Defense University, Islamabad. Most of the speakers have talked about the stability in Afghanistan for the growth and cooperation in the region. But if we see that since Taliban's takeover in 2021, no regional state has yet recognized Taliban regime. They are all waiting for the region, for the Western, or we can say particularly the US's go ahead. So don't you think that most of the regional states could benefit from recognizing and engaging with the Taliban and incentivizing them politically as well as economically?
The Taliban are themselves to blame. They have annoyed Pakistan. Pakistan have been bending over backwards to have good relations with them. But that doesn't mean that Taliban are not open to other overtures. The Taliban delegation is visiting Japan right now. They are on a week-long visit over there, and they said we want to have good relations with all countries in the world. So visiting Japan is, I think, very significant because Japan is one of the world's leading economy and very advanced country. Russia wants to have proper relations with Taliban. The UAE wants to have good relations with Taliban, but Taliban have some policies which generally are very annoying. For example, their misogynist policies that girls cannot go to school, women folk are not allowed to work. So these are policies which are troublesome, and also because they've not been able to control free movement from their territory into Pakistan. On daily basis, our young men in the security forces are getting killed. Daily basis, almost daily basis. So what do we do? Yeah, exactly.
Well, your question was very important. Basically, the thing is that it won't hurt any country per se by recognizing the Taliban or giving them that political recognition that they so desperately desire at the moment. But the thing is that they signed a Doha Accord with not just with the US, but they actually made commitments to the international community that sort of diplomatic recognition or acceptance would be given to the Taliban regime after they fulfill all of those tenets first, which they had already promised. And as far as the political integration is concerned, girls' education and human rights is concerned, curbing the surge of militancy and terrorism emanating from Afghanistan is concerned, they have not addressed any such concerns significantly. So that is why all those countries are still keeping an arm's length. But practically everybody is engaging Afghanistan very proactively. You'll be surprised to know that as far as the education or academic collaborations are concerned, and I'm quoting the Russian ambassador on these figures, that ever since the Taliban takeover in 2023 alone, there were more than 5,000 students, Afghan students, studying in higher education institutes in Moscow and St. Petersburg and other major institutes in Russia, while only 55 students from Pakistan applied for higher education studies in Russia for that period of time. So you can see how actively they are engaging. Our consulate works there. Russian consulate has been open there. The Chinese have actually sent a full-fledged ambassador over there. So yes, practically the world is engaging them. EU has, if I'm not wrong, sir, EU has its offices in Afghanistan as well. Yes, EU is also engaging them actively. The thing is that technically they have not signed off on the actual recognition of the regime, and that will only come after they fulfill all the promises that they have made with the international community. Even Russia is now working on this project of trying to remove them from the list of terrorist organizations ever since the 90s. So things are moving forward. So now the ball is in the court of the Afghan Taliban, that how they conduct themselves, how they engage with the international community, only then the de jure recognition will be offered to them. So the ball is in their court.
And all these examples that you stated, it is actually that we see that these regional states are actually engaged with they have been engaging with the people of Afghanistan. As we know, now know that the Taliban is actually a power to be reckoned with. And instead of isolating them, we should be engaging them directly so that we will be in a better position to tame their behavior as far as all these they have been not following all those promises that they have made in the Doha Accord.
I agree with you that engagement is necessary in order to tame them. But the thing is that they refuse to be tamed at the moment. I think that no other country in the region, more than Pakistan, have engaged them in a constructive manner, be it economically, politically, diplomatically, or even people-to-people contact-wise. But the thing is that they refuse to listen to the apprehensions or the concerns of Pakistan. For example, TTP is one of those points where Afghan Taliban refuse to listen to Pakistan or address our concerns, which are legitimate concerns. Same concerns Uzbekistan also has, Tajikistan also has them, Iran has its own concerns with regards to how Taliban are dealing with them at the moment. So it is not just us, but every other regional country is facing this attitude problem from the Afghan Taliban. That is why I said that everybody is trying to engage them, but they're not getting or reciprocated in the same manner from the Afghan Taliban. That is why that de jure recognition is still a far-fetched dream for them at the moment. But yes, the US, you can say pressure or the US threat is still there, because as long as the supposed hegemon is not on board with that strategy, every other country for that matter would be a bit concerned by ignoring the concerns of the great powers and go on its own way. Because Pakistan at the end of the day is a sort of vulnerable when it comes to such sort of strategic decisions. You see, we cannot act alone. We live in a community, a global community, where we have to keep in mind the concerns of other regional and extra-regional stakeholders as well. So I hope I've answered your question in that one.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My question is, if all panelists wants to respond, but specifically with Ma'am Saira Nayaz Abbasi. Madam, you discussed about the strategic diversification, and in this current time, what we are discussing right now is Pakistan-Russia relations. And the most important country for current time we must have to discuss, and you also elaborate very well. It's about the counterterrorism and the economic discussion of the Pakistan-Russia relations is Afghanistan. Pakistan right now, Pakistan is facing a lot of threats, a lot of confidence and terrorism, which has increased recently. It's just because of we can say that SCO has not proven that much sufficient confident as in previous time. So you talked about the BRICS. So my question is that can BRICS be can proved it a very constructive platform to have a very economic conditions with Pakistan and Indian and Russian relations as compared to the if you talk about SEO. So can we make a difference between SEO and BRICS? Like, can BRICS be a constructive platform? Like, we know that SEO most importantly has failed. If we talk about specifically with Pakistan, like counterterrorism, we haven't seen like those developments which must have been here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Well, the use of word like failed would be very extreme, I would say, because we are trying to analyze the role of SCO and the role of BRICS in the context of regional stability at the moment. Like I said in my presentation, that we have a lot to achieve as yet. You can say that these are now in a process of evolution and in a process of transition. Both the relations and both bilateral relations and multilateral relations also. So BRICS में तो अभी तक inclusion नहीं हुआ है पाकिस्तान का. So talking about SEO, you said why it has failed. Well, I would say using this word would be too much extreme at this level. Why what is happening in Pakistan would be based on, the own fault lines of Pakistan, which Pakistan has to address by itself. Now we are looking RATS, which is the important regional framework in the SCO regarding the counter-terrorism efforts at the regional level. So yes, Pakistan and Russia should collaborate more, and there is much more to achieve and much more to address in the coming days. While SCO is also there are two basically components of SCO. We see that China and Russia both are the major players in SCO. And both states, if you see their foreign policies, Russia is a security state, while China is more centric towards, economic collaboration and cooperation. So whatever Russia's focus is, of course, more on the security side, while China's would be more. So in the context of regional connectivity, China would be doing that. And in the context of security, Russia would be doing that using the platform of SCO. So where is the role of Pakistan? Of course, regional integration in the context that there is a lot of agreements regarding the regional integration had been signed between the both states. And of course, the usage of the RATs. While the role of BRICS, still now Pakistan has not been the part of BRICS, and BRICS is purely, the economic venture or economic platform where both states could cooperate with each other and diversify, like I said, to get away from the orbit of the Western dominance and Western-led economic institutions towards the non-Western-led economic institutions, fostering the multi-level governance. So yes, you are right that at the moment, its role is not as much vibrant in addressing the internal political or internal terrorism related issues. But of course, in the coming decades, maybe it would be that much effective where we could see that both states are collaborating with each other, addressing the internal terrorist organizations or terrorist and extremist elements. I hope it answers.
Make a small addition to what Dr. Saira Basi said. The thing is that yes, multilateral platforms are very important for any country's foreign policy and for its economic, political, and strategic growth and orientation. But the thing is that the first and foremost thing for any country is the internal balancing of its own affairs. No organization, be it multilateral or bilateral or whatever, cannot help any country unless and until they are internally balanced. And by internal balancing, I mean that they have their own institutional capacities, they have a good, strong industrial base, they have a good economy, they have strong institutions, rule of law, good governance, good security situation, be it regionally or internally, political unity, so on and so forth. Pakistan, unfortunately, we do not have any of those tenets at the moment. So making any of those, having such expectations from any sort of multilateral institutions to resolve your own internal issues, I think it's very naive to say the least. Second, you also have to understand the nature of any multilateral organization that you are a member of. Like Dr. Saira mentioned, that your internal issues will never be addressed by institutions like the SCO. SCO does not even allow you to discuss bilateral territorial disputes or issues. That is why we can never bring Kashmir dispute to the forum of SCO. BRICS, on the other hand, it's a strictly economic grouping. All the founding members have said that we are going to make sure that any sort of political connotation never gets attached to BRICS as it has been attached to the G7. Because many Western-led institutions, organizations, and authors, they always claim that BRICS is actually an equivalent of the G7. So G7 is very much politicized, as you can see, especially after the Russia-Ukraine conflict and then in the prevailing circumstances. So BRICS will never, again, address your internal issues. And in order to become a member of the BRICS, Pakistan's case is, at the moment, as far as my humble knowledge and information is concerned, is being deferred on technical grounds. And the main opposition is coming from India. Because Brazil had some differences with us, but those were also addressed and resolved. But the only problem is now being raised by Indians. India says that BRICS is a group of emerging economies. And if we pick up the last 10 years of Pakistan's economic indicators, none of them are promising. So they say that how will Pakistan be able to positively contribute to this grouping once it is made a member? Now, somebody asked that, what about Ethiopia? What about the UAE or Saudi Arabia being offered and made members of the BRICS? Well, they bought their way into BRICS. All of them invested in the New Development Bank. It's a infrastructural bank within the BRICS organization, which actually gives aid to different developmental projects, trade and transit, and so on and so forth. Pakistan, on the other hand, we unfortunately keep on demanding external financial help from international financial institutions. So even then, a good technical point is raised by our arch rival or nemesis, for that matter, but it is still a very good, valid opposition point. And Pakistan has to address them. And how to address them? We have to internally balance ourselves in order to make our bid that attractive, so that they cannot deny us. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, bhai. Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Danish Nazir this side from National Defense University. So first of all, I don't know this, sir. Sir. He mentioned that we are now moving to a independent, more of an independent foreign policy. So first of all, I think this is a very theoretical idea for us, for Pakistan, because we see that Pakistan is no way close to an independent foreign policy. Whenever you are taking policies, or whenever we are trying to make a policy, the first thing which comes to our mind is we shouldn't offend America. We have to take more loans from IMF. So these things, as you mentioned just earlier, that we are always at the taking end. And the other aspect is that the major part of our trade volume, it is also with the West. We just benefited we were profitable of $3 billion, I guess, in 2024, just from the trade with America. So we don't want to offend them. We don't want to, clear out, lessen the relationships with the West. So other thing, now looking towards the other part, Indian factor again, as the panelist mentioned, the Indian factor is very large. So now India is being offered Su-57 from the Russian side again. And then India has very close ties with the Russians. And other than that, we also saw that in all the trade war. Okay, so trade war was also happened between US and China. So what are the chances that if Pakistan starts to build close relations with Russia, we won't face any kind of trade war or any kind of sanctions or any kind of, the revenge part from the West or from the USA, which would just make Pakistan even more vulnerable? So what are the aspects or what are the policies we should be or we are taking to, just settle all these matters? Because this is not just a very simple policy. You just make one policy and everything goes smooth.
Well, of course, you said that theoretically we are not that independent. And if we look at the practical manifestation of things, even great powers like the US, China, or Russia, even they are not completely independent when it comes to their foreign policy orientations, because nobody is existing or working in a vacuum. Everybody is connected to others, you see, and everybody has their own niches, their strong points, and their vulnerabilities. And so that's how they play along with each other. But the point is to have enough power so that you have the sort of multi-vector foreign policy where you can engage with all stakeholders, different powers, maximizing your interests while also trying to not to offend anyone else. Yes, Pakistan being a vulnerable state does have its constraints when it comes to dealing with great powers, you see, and we do try our best to balance our approach. And Pakistan has no country tries to offend any other country for that matter. And even the US also recognizes the constraints and the vulnerabilities that Pakistan has. You will be surprised to know, and I can tell this to you with authority, that it was the US that told Pakistan proactively. It engaged Pakistan first and told us that, yes, if you want, you can buy discounted crude oil from Russia. Nobody stopped us, but the US actually told us that we understand that you guys have energy insecurity going on in your country. So we will have no problem at all if you engage with Russia in this regard, but ensure that the purchase of oil is taking place under the price cap that they had established earlier. That's how you went about it, you see. But then I'll revert back to my point of internal balancing, that when you are internally strong, even the great powers are unable to exert or coerce you in a manner that currently several countries are being coerced or thrown around. A good example would be Turkey. Turkey is a member of NATO and one of the strategic partners of Russia. It has been supplying drones, Bayraktar drones, to the Ukrainian armed forces, while also providing transit routes to Russian energy to cross into Southern Europe and so on and so forth. So every country has to manage their relations amicably, but first you have to internally balance. Russia is strong, Turkey is strong enough. That is why when it bought S-400 systems from Russia a few years ago, it was hit with CATSA sanctions. But now, and they were also taken off that F-35 joint program as well. But now, Turkey is back after saying that, okay, I disband those S-400 batteries back into my armory, and I'll be engaging more effectively with NATO. I'll also ensure that this peace deal is brokered between US and Russia. So I scratch your back, you'll scratch mine. So now the US has again allowed Turkey to be a part of the F-35 project. Furthermore, then you can take the example of India, although I hate giving that example, but still, you have to look at it from a very objective manner. India is a strategic partner of Russia for more than 55 years now. The agreement was signed back in 71, if I'm not wrong. 76% of the Indian defense procurement was being done from Russia by India for several decades. But in 2024, as per my research, that share has decreased to 26%. But this does not mean that the relationship has taken a nosedive. But the thing is that India has expanded its defense import pie, in which, although it seems that Russian pie has shortened, but it's not the case. The pie has gotten bigger, and the cooperation still continues. And when it bought S-400 systems from the Russian Federation, it was not hit by CATSA sanctions by the US. Why? Because back in 2019, the Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh declared that Indian Army or Indian military is going to spend $150 billion in the next 10 years on its military modernization. And 80% of that business would be given to American companies, which you are seeing right now. That's why the CATSA sanctions waiver was given to India. Now that's called multi-vector diplomacy. And how did India and Turkey manage to do so? They became so important, economically strong, diplomatically strong, politically so significant that even the great powers are very careful when dealing with them, and they deal with them on a mutually respectable and equality basis. So at the end of the day, it comes back to your internal balancing. So my friend, we have to internally balance before we go on for external balancing. So I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you. Now I request Dr. Fakhrul Islam to please give his remarks as a session chair. So please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This brings us to the end of this very productive and interactive session of the International Conference on the evolving Pakistan-Russia relationship in a changing global order. We had with us 5 presenters and speakers in all. Of them, the 3 speakers carried with them vast experience in the international relations: Ambassador Syed Abrar Hussain Sahib, Professor Dr. Adam Saud Sahib, and Brigadier Tour Ali Amin Sahib. Besides, we had 2 young presenters and scholars from Islamabad who also presented very thought-provoking talk. And then the presentations were followed by a very vibrant question-answer session. I must appreciate the questions asked by the young participants. Well, the speakers have touched upon all the aspects of Pakistan-Russia's relations, its past history, when the 2 countries were at dagger drawn against each other, especially during the Cold War and during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. So the history is very complex, but then with the changing global order, both the countries have come closer to each other. And all the speakers were unanimous on the point that although both the countries have come closer, but still there are some challenges in the way of moving forward. I must say that foreign policy is not a static discipline. It's a very volatile and unpredictable. It can be changed within days or maybe in lesser time a day. So we can't predict for this relationship, but at least given the situation in the region and the dynamics of relationships on international level, we can say, as the honorable presenters and speakers pointed out, that there are certain areas where there is room for further cooperation. So I think this session was very productive in all, and the organizers had selected a very suitable place for this session. I mean, the Institute of Policy Studies, Islamabad, which is the oldest private sector think tank, and which has done a lot of research on Russia and especially on Central Asia. So with these remarks, I extend my congratulations to the organizers and especially to the Institute of Policy Studies for holding such an interactive and good session. And of course, we will be hearing to the concluding remarks of the worthy chairman of Institute of Policy Studies. So thank you all, thank you presenters, and thank you participants. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Chairman, Institute of Policy Studies, Mr. Khalid Rahman, to give his concluding remarks, sir, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Walid. I must acknowledge that we had a very good session and a lot of dimensions have been discussed. But we are already short of time. We had decided to conclude the session by 4:30. So I'm not going to take much of your time. I think it has been emphasized rightly that the world is changing. And we can say particularly the landscape of the international relations is changing. Not only the international relations, but the global system that was formed in 1945 and was continuing until now. There is a question how much it has been successful. But as far as the conflict is concerned, the world is having more conflicts these days rather in the past. So the change is taking place. But to what extent it will really change the future scenario, that is the question in my mind. Because as far as the paradigm of governance is concerned, whether it is at national level or at global level, the paradigm is driven by the so-called national interest. So if the global governance paradigm remains the same, I don't think many changes will be taking place. The conflict will remain. So as far as the bilateral situation is concerned, we have discussed a lot Pak-Russia relations, and I'm not going to deliberate upon that. But in the context of this global paradigm of governance, I think the moral dimension is completely missing. There is a lot of talk about the international laws, the development in the international relations discipline. But as far as the moral dimension is concerned, it is missing. And the most recent example is the Palestine issue, in which we see all tall claims about the international law. They are nowhere. Now, no doubt, I think it has been emphasized in the program as well, that US continues to be the strongest player in the world as far as this global governance is concerned, and as far as the elements of comprehensive power are concerned. It perhaps will continue with this situation.
But what about the moral dimension? I think US has proved time and again, and this was the maximum that has happened during last 1 year, that there is no international law that is respected by the US and its allies. When I say US, I think there are a lot of countries at the government level, they are supporting it. So this international governance needs a moral dimension. To what extent it is possible, I think this is going to be a test for the future emerging players at the global level. Russia is one of them, of course, but at the moment, China is leading the process. And at least on paper, we can find something China is saying. I would recall the 3 initiatives that President Xi in recent years have presented: the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilizational Initiative. I wish we can put the Chinese in test, that while you are leading this process, and Russia is now very close to you, and in fact, there is no doubt that US is losing its ground, not only in physical terms, but it may take some time. But as far as the moral terms are concerned, it has already lost that ground. So without moral ground, you cannot sustain for long. And in the global context, 70, 75 years is not a big thing. But that has happened, and the global governance system will have to shift to something which is better, having this kind of moral ground. So I hope, and I think as an individual, as an institution, as a nation, we all have this responsibility to highlight this dimension, which is normally missing in these kind of discourses. Because as a whole, this paradigm is working, and this has been established that you need to take care of your own interest. So unless we have this global paradigm of development, unless we have focus on human dimension of the development, I don't think we will have a very good future for long term. All small things can happen, and they are happening. But the current situation is, particularly after this happening in the last year in Gaza, and there are similar incidents. I would not spare the situation that has happened in Ukraine. That is also a reflection of the current global system. So the current global governance paradigm needs to be changed. And these are occasions when we should not forget this dimension. We should highlight that dimension also. That is my input at the whole. But I would congratulate Walid, you and organizations behind this program, the Kaza University in Russia and the Federal Urdu University in Karachi. They have taken a timely initiative to highlight this kind of dimensions. And I hope we shall be coordinating further programs with Kaza University also and with Federal Urdu University. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. This brings us to the end of today's session, and I am very much thankful to all our participants, and our the speakers, those who joined us online. And thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.